Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So for those of you who have watched a few Motorola videos on my channel, you'll be fully aware that I've done some standalone videos on the Motorola G30. I have done some videos on the Motorola G10, but they are incorporated into camera comparisons, etc. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to do a bit of a standalone video on the Motorola G10, just talking about its specs, its camera, its performance and all that sort of stuff to see if it's a good Motorola phone to buy or are there better options for you at the same price or less. So if you take the Motorola G10 and put it side by side with its big brother, the Motorola G30, they share the exact same dimensions, including a 6.5-inch HD display with a 720p resolution, but on the G30 the refresh rate is dropped from the 90Hz found on the G30 to 60Hz on the G10. But in terms of pixel density and the overall viewing of each screen, they are both exactly the same. They also share the same dewdrop notch design on the front where the selfie camera is located, but this is dropped from a 13 megapixel selfie camera on the G30 down to an 8 megapixel on the G10. But in terms of overall picture quality, I didn't notice a huge difference between the two. Obviously, if you're pixel peeping, you will notice the dropped resolution on the G10, but in terms of viewing the photos on the screen of your phone, you're not going to notice a difference between the two cameras. And they both share the same f2.2 aperture, so in terms of bringing in the same amount of light into each lens. Now flipping over onto the back of the phone, this is where you've seen the main difference with the cameras. Whereas the Motorola G30 has a 64 megapixel primary camera, this is downgraded to a 48 megapixel on the G10. But again, like on the selfie camera, I didn't notice a huge difference between the two in terms of everyday daylight photos, and the G10 still does support a night mode like what the G30 offers as well. And it also shares the same 1080p video at 60 frames per second video recording, but the G30 does have a ever so slightly larger sensor than the G10, but in terms of, like I said, in real world camera use, I haven't noticed a huge difference. Now if we go on to performance, the G10 has a Qualcomm Snapdragon 460 processor, which is a bit of a downgrade from the Snapdragon 662 that you find on the G30, which I do find is a better overall processor for everyday use. I did notice the odd hiccup from the Snapdragon 460 on the G10, and with the Snapdragon 662 on the G30 coupled with the 90Hz refresh rate, the user experience on the G30 is smoother than you will find on the G10. And battery, both of these phones house a 5000 mAh battery, but where you'll find a difference is in the charging speeds. You have support for up to 20 watt charging on the G30, which by today's standards isn't very fast, but this is unfortunately downgraded even further to only 10 watt charging on the G10. So you are going to be looking at a considerably longer time waiting for your G10 to charge. But in terms of battery endurance, the battery life on the G10 is a little bit better. That will be down to the lower powered processor and the lack of the 90Hz refresh rate. Now all of these downgrades may sound like I'm slamming the G10. I'm not. It is a perfectly good phone for most people to use in everyday use, but just bear in mind that because it's got a Snapdragon 400 series processor, everyday performance, you may notice the odd stammer here and there, but in my use it wasn't often enough for it to be a major issue. But of course, if you can stretch that little bit extra money wise, it's definitely worth going for the G30 because of that high refresh rate display, the slightly more powerful processor and the upgraded camera to 64 megapixels up from 48 on the G10. Now going outside of the G10 and the G30, there is a bit of a dark horse in terms of Motorola phones that you can choose, and that is the Motorola G9 Play. Now that's a phone that I've been using on and off for a little while, and in terms of the user experience, I found that it is almost identical to using the G30 minus the 90Hz refresh rate. It has the same Snapdragon 662 processor, same 4 gigs of RAM. The camera is again downgraded to a 48 megapixel sensor, and also the selfie camera is downgraded to an 8 megapixel, so the same as what you'll find on the G10. But at the moment, if you're here in the UK, you can pick up the G9 Play for £99 in Argos. Now personally, I do think that is a better buy than the G10, although this has only got a triple lens camera, so you are lacking the ultra wide camera on the G10. Because those ultra wide cameras are not the best quality, it isn't that much of an issue for me. So that is definitely an option to consider. But don't get me wrong, the G10 is still a great phone, and if you can see, has a nice ripple effect on the plastic, and that does look quite nice. So yeah, but let me know in the comments what you think of the G10. Is it a phone that you would consider? Do you have a G30 instead, or G9 Play, or any other Motorola budget phone? Let me know in the comments and we can have a discussion on what phones are our choices and why. So thank you for watching this little recap of the Motorola G10 as a standalone video. If this is the sort of video you do like to see more of, please let me know in the comments again, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Hit the like button on this video if you enjoyed it, and ding the notification bell so you know when I make a new upload. And again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.